And welcome to our latest Swampcast. Of course, this one under the heading Daily Football Fix. We've been giving you those all through August. They'll go right up until the first games of the season on the 28th. Today, your football fix is the Swampcast. Robbie, Andreu, the Gainesville Sun, Pat, Dooley, the Gainesville Sun, and we're going to talk about spring practice, summer practice.
Feels like spring.
It does. Well, today it did, but yeah. Summer practice for this so far this year. Obviously, Florida's a couple of weeks in. They've had some major injuries, but we're going to kind of give you our blow-by-blow of what we've seen out there. Pretty much it's been the chain link fence, Robbie, yeah. But there was some action earlier, and just kind of getting a feel, talking to players and coaches about what's been going on. We start out with the good news, Robbie. What is, in your mind, through practice so far is the good news?
To me, Pat, the good news is that they're showing improvement in the key areas where they needed to, especially on defense. Cornerback, those guys, Wendy Pierre-Louise and Joe Hayden have definitely upped their game a little bit with a little experience. And Urban Meyer was saying the other day that Joe Hayden now is a legitimate, SEC cornerback, which, and to think he couldn't have been last year because he came out of high school as a quarterback, and they moved him to cornerback and playing defense for the first time at this level. He started almost every game. It was a lot too much to ask for him, too much to ask for Wendy Pierre-Louise, but they've shown a lot of improvement with experience. And I think the defensive line is starting to make strides. I know that Urban Meyer the other day said that he's seeing something good there, but he didn't want to comment on specifics for fear of the Florida nonsense that when you say something good about somebody, it goes to their head and boom, it's gone.
Noise in the system. Don't want to get any of that going. Well, I'll take the bad news part, and that obviously has been the injuries. 5 ACLs. It's an unprecedented number of ACLs for just the first couple of weeks of practice. Trust me, they're not wearing different cleats. They didn't resod the turf. These things just happen sometimes, and sometimes they happen in bunches. I remember the year Anquan Bolden got hurt at Florida State, they had about 5 of them like that in the preseason. And you're looking around this league. Greg Hardy's out. Sturdivant, the Georgia great left tackle, maybe the 3rd best player on that team, is out for the year with an injury. Auburn lost its starting free safety with injury. These things happen, and I know, Robbie, you're going to rank on the Daily Football Fix the injuries in order of how important they think you are, but these things do happen. Don't assume that somebody's not working out hard or they get long cleats or something like that because they get hurt.
But what it's done with Florida, I think, is kind of ratcheted down the expectations a little bit, maybe taking away just a little of the preseason excitement because you have these injuries, you start thinking things are going wrong, and it's kind of a feeling now where it's like almost depressing to see all these guys going down. But by the time the season gets there, I think everybody's going to be jacked up again. And like I was telling you, Pat, maybe they need to go in shorts for a few days and give them a little bit of a break.
Well, when you look at it, they certainly have lost. Cornelius Ingram's a big blow just because of his leadership. I don't think they lose on the field. I don't think it's devastating, and by any means. When you lose Dorian Monroe, you're talking about a starting strong safety who was going to compete, but he hadn't started a game. Jim Berry really wasn't going to be counted on, I don't think, this year. And Brendan Beal was going to be a backup linebacker, so that hurts as well. And then John Curtis is a backup safety and also a special teams guy. These all hurt a little bit. They're all a little niche, but again, it's been happening all around the conference and all around the country. Injuries happen. It's football.
And then and then you ask Urban Meyer, Pat, and he says they've looked at everything they've done, and it's basically the same training regimen, the same practice routine that they've done every year. And he said last year it was like the high ankle sprain. This year it's the ACL, which is kind of devastating 5, but it's just something you have to deal with.
Who's the biggest surprise to you so far this practice, Robbie?
I think Carl Moore, Pat, the junior college wide receiver. And I know he was highly rated, but last spring he was a huge disappointment to me. And Meyer even said the other day he was disappointed in him. He was playing so slow. He looked like a possession receiver, no explosiveness at all. But now he has picked up the offense. He's feeling comfortable in it. He's starting to make plays. And I think that Meyer said he's going to have a big impact on the season. I think this is a guy that gives him another, big, fast target over the middle of the field.
I remember last spring I asked Urban, I said, Urban, where's the burst?
It wasn't there.
And he goes, it's there. He just hasn't shown it. So he definitely is a little bit of a surprise. A guy for me is Lawrence Marsh, who, man, I'm almost tired of hearing about Lawrence Marsh.
He's been improving for 2 years now. So.
Get on the field and make some plays, but it seems like maybe he's ready to step up there at defensive tackle. And I would say right now, very well likely I would start him and Epps is who I think would be starting.
And Meyer said Marsh is head and shoulders above the competition at his position right now. So this is a kid that's really come a long way. And you look at him physically, you think he should have done a lot more last year because of what he's got. But he's learning how to play hard every play. I think Dan McCarney's done a great job with that group.
And as I wrote in a column a little while ago, they're only going to be as good as their defensive tackles. Robbie, our next category is still waiting. Who's the guy you're still waiting to see out there?
Chris Rainey, Pat, he's been hurt a little bit. He's been nicked up. He had the big spring, and then it's been kind of quiet since then. But I think that with Rainey, when he gets back, I think the running back situation is going to be in such great shape, and there's so much talent there. Now they can take last year's starter, Keith Summour, and have him place him at fullback, which adds yet another dimension to the spread offense. In the past, the fullback blocked. Now he's going to catch the ball and run.
Yeah, my guy is Omar Hunter. Obviously, I spent a little time with him up in Buford, and looking forward to seeing him out there on the field. But he's just been kind of tentatively moving around with that back injury, and I still think he can be a big factor on August 30th and play some, but he's got to get out there and practice.
But you look at him, Pat, I know he's got a little bit in his midsection now.
He's got a little scoop there.
But he has that SEC defensive tackle look, nose-type tackle look, big, strong fire plug that you can't get out, can't move, you can't block. And I think once his back gets better, he's going to have a huge impact on that front.
All right, Robbie, what position do you feel better about now than you did when practice started?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, Pat, I think tailback is much better now. And I think Emmanuel Moody, he was a little bit of a spring disappointment early, and then, man, he exploded at the end and had the great spring game. If he holds onto the ball in that spring game, you start talking about him possibly being the starter. But I think he and Rainey are going to do some really good things there. It'll help Moore go and play fullback, and you're going to see a lot of two running back sets with two tailbacks in the backfield, one playing like a fullback that has tailback skills. So I think it just adds a lot to the offense.
I feel better about defensive tackle. I feel like with Marsh making an emergence, they love Epps, as I said earlier. They've got so many bodies to throw in there that if you're not playing well, guess what? You're out. Somebody else is going to come in.
Don't forget John Brown, Pat. He's another guy that can have a real impact.
If he can stay okay in school, and obviously Tratto's going to move inside some. They move Jay Howard inside. There's so many players there. I feel like they're going to figure it out. Whether it's 4-man rotation, whether it's a 6-man rotation. At one point, Dan McCarney the other day was talking about an 8 or 9-man rotation. I mean, not many schools can do that. So
he wants them to play hard every play. And I'll tell you, Pat, if the tackles do elevate their game, they've got the ends that can cause some damage in Carlos Dunlap and Jermaine Cunningham.
Yeah, absolutely. Our next category, a position maybe you don't feel quite as good about as you did before the season started.
Well, let's see, what was mine?
Strong safety.
Yeah, strong safety, I'm sorry.
We have cheat notes here, just so you know.
But the thing with the safety positions, I think they're okay at strong safety in the starting role with Major Wright. And I guess Justin Williams did some good things in the first scrimmage, so they feel good about the depth there a little bit. But here's the guy that hasn't played a whole lot in Justin Williams. And then strong safety, you're counting on a true sophomore, Ahmad Black, who was a cornerback last year and not really big for strong safety, but hits a ton. And then, Will Hill, the true freshman who had a concussion, has been held back a little bit and with a lot of talent, but he's having a hard time adjusting to the speed of the game right now. So it's real, strong safety to me is the biggest concern right now on a defense that should be better overall.
Well, I take the easy way out and say tight end. Obviously, when you lose a guy like Cornelius Ingram, it hurts your football team. And he had bulked up. He had come back for his senior year. You feel terrible for him. They've got a great one in Aaron Hernandez. Urban told me he thinks Aaron Hernandez is going to play in the NFL. He's that good. But they had a lot of two tight end things they were going to do. I'm just not sure Tate Casey is the kind of guy. The great line from Urban, I think it was unintentional. He said, well, when I got here, Tate Casey was big and slow, and now, small and slow. Now he's big.
Yeah.
He didn't say he was any faster, though.
But the shame of it is Cornelius Ingram's out for his senior year, and we're never going to see what those two, Hernandez and Ingram, would have done on the field at the same time. They had a package they were real excited about running, and I don't think we're going to see it now. All
right, but to end this up, Robbie, before practice started, where would you have had Florida in the nation?
Top 5, definitely.
Still there? Or
still there. I mean, the injuries are tough, and it's been a little bit of a downer, but I'm still thinking, Tim Tebow and Brandon Spikes, it's a good place to start.
And this guy gets a vote this year in the AP poll. Where'd you have him to start out?
I think it might have been 4 or 5, so they're in there pretty high.
Well, see, that's.
And I'm going to blog my number 1 to let people know why I voted for my number 1 team.
What is that?
Later this week.
Oh, you're going to blog it?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm blogging it.
Well, is it a mystery team?
No.
Is it like Duke? You'd vote for Duke?
Well, maybe. The old ball coach gave me a call. Just kidding.
Well, I think about my estimation of the Gators probably is about the same because I have them a little lower, around 7 or 8, and I think that's about where they are. But, heck, if you're in the top 8, anything can happen. We all know that. It's going to be an interesting season and an interesting last couple of weeks of practice. We are just 2 weeks away from the first football games. 4 games that Thursday, Robbie. We're fired up for that. Can't wait. And this is going to be our last Swampcast for this week. We'll have another one on the Daily Football Fix next week, so make sure you tune in. Till then, Pat Dooley and Robbie Andreu of the Gainesville Sun saying so long from the Sunshine State.